I'm so excited that you're here with me today. It took a lot to get you here because you're like, Summer,
I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
So scared. But sometimes getting out of our comfort zone, which this is for me as well. So
you do it all the time.
So
you're a lot more used to the user-friendly cameras and all that. I'm not. I like staying behind the scenes, but
and
anyway.
sharing.
Yeah.
If Norma shares a post, I'm good.
You're good.
This is Norma Pine. She is a broker at Pine and Beckett Realtors, and today I want to talk about some things with Norma, who is also my friend. You're going to learn a lot in my podcasts and in my videos and any of my social media that I am a relationship girl. It's just who I am. And we have a really fun event that we're going to talk about, which is what drew us to this conversation today. But I want to go back in history and tell a funny story about Norma.
It better not be bad.
I'd never tell you a bad story about yourself. I'll just tell everybody else.
Okay. That's okay.
No, I'm just playing.
Just go easy on it.
So you're at 4400 Big Spring.
Big Spring.
And you're in the front. And across the hall, which is now Terry's office and Lorraine and all them across the hall, I was in a mortgage office, Prime Source Mortgage, with Guy McKenzie. And we had a deal going. And I was a broker, and broker deals sometimes are, And you had the seller. And that seller was on a timeline, and you were the advocate, as you always are, for the seller or the buyer, and I had the buyer, and it was a real wonky transaction. And my very first encounter with you was you storming and steaming across that hall.
Ouch.
And you are my, and I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, I got to get this closed. But I got to make that woman my friend. I liked her. She just took my rear end off, but I liked it. I want that. So, we had lunch periodically, and then I bought a house, and then we sold that house, and I decided you were going to be my friend. So a few years later, we were friends. And we lived at Daniel's family's house, paid off all our debt, doing the young family thing, and I called you and said, there's a house I want to see. Do you remember this?
I remember this, yeah.
Do you remember?
How many years ago was this?
So this was
Take me back
probably in 2003, 2004, because Eli was a baby.
Okay.
When the sale and the live with the family and pay off all the debt happened. And then we found Arroyo in 2007, so a few years later. And so I found that house, and Lord, it was a gut job. And the sellers were crazy divorce. Do you remember?
I remember that.
The walls were beat up, the attic was
I think didn't they have a boat or something in the garage that they left, or something they left in the garage and they wouldn't get out?
Yeah, it wasn't
there was something in the garage.
Yeah,
I remember
don't remember that. But yes, there was something there.
Yeah.
And then they didn't accept our offer. And I was... and I'd never heard the street Arroyo or the name Arroyo, the word Arroyo. And so went home, back to my in-laws, and was just ready to have my space again. And a week later, I run into a friend at Ross, Dress for Less. She's like, we just moved. We bought this house on Arroyo. And I was like, they bought my house. That was fast. Well, it turned out they were next door neighbors.
Oh, how funny.
And our two girls
Fate is a funny thing, isn't it?
It's the craziest thing. Our two girls were in preschool together. And then the next week on the news, something, and Arroyo was on the news. And I called you. I said, Norma, that house is going to be mine. I just believe God is telling me this is coming up 3 times now. They didn't accept my offer, and I just can't believe this. I know that this is my house. And you're like, well, we'll see how they go. We'll let them wait it out. And you're all about just letting them wait it out. And you called me.
No bragging, but negotiation I'm really good at.
Yeah.
There's no bragging here.
Okay. Well, hey, that's good because, listen, it's played so well in my favor in my home transactions. The last one, you helped me. Amber Pruitt helped me. And so you called me a week later at like 8:30 at night. Kids were in bed, and you're like, you're not going to believe this. Now, we were still doing paper contracts. We were still
Good
doing
old days.
I
Miss
mean,
those good old days.
yeah, cell
Oh,
phones were like razor flip phones. The iPhone was
I go so far
barely.
back that I remember having the carbon paper. You know that
Oh
oh yeah,
Lord.
and you had black all over your hands with the two
Oh,
papers. I remember going to Gibraltar Savings, and the lady's name was Joy Six. I don't know where she is or what, but I remember taking my contract, 2-page contract, 2 pages, no inspections, no disclosures, none of that fun stuff. Go in there on a Monday, give it to Joyce. She'd check credit. She'd call me on Thursday and go, y'all can close on Friday. It was that easy breezy.
isn't that
Where did those
crazy?
days go? And the bad thing of it is we've been improving and improving to, of course, everybody knows, so we'll get to the NAR thing, to the NAR thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is improving or going back. I'm not sure where we are. But anyway, I didn't mean
Well,
to interrupt. Sorry.
no, you're good. So you called me that night and you're like, they asked if you're still interested in the house. And I was like, I told you. I told you that was my house. They end up coming down $10,000 on sales price. They gave us a roof. And those were the days when you could go to closing at 100% financing.
Oh, yeah. Lovely
My
days.
company was doing the loan with Josh Hopkins. We were good. I mean, we bought that house and gutted it and lived there for 14 years.
It's a good house for you. It's a good
Yeah,
house.
it was a good bones house, and we sold it last year. Finally, there's lots of memories
We
there.
ended that chapter,
Yeah,
didn't we?
we
Yeah,
did.
we did. We
And
began together and we ended that
yeah,
together. And that's really saying something.
I love it. And over
Yeah.
those years, there is a friendship here, but there's also such a mentorship for me with you.
Thank you.
And when I got back into lending, I got out in 2008 when the crisis happened and opened Edible Arrangements and decided to be a mom and an entrepreneur with my friends and did some marketing things on the side with Julie Kent and some of them. And I look back on those times and you're one of the people who encouraged me to take risks. So when I got back in the industry and I called you and said, I'm coming back, you were like, you better get over to my office. You just welcomed me with such open arms.
Oh, well.
And so I think that sometimes people might think, Leigh-Anne and Pine and Beckett are exclusive, and we're not exclusive, but we are very dear friends. There's so much more to
We have a lot of history.
just
Yeah,
realtor
kind of grown
and
up
lender.
together.
Yeah,
well, I'm growing old and you're growing up,
yeah.
but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We've sort of grown up together.
Yeah.
But that's a really big compliment that you consider me a mentor or that any of the girls consider me a mentor because I was thinking this morning when I was getting dressed, I thought, I can remember my 2 mentors that I think have really propelled me into this business with all of my beliefs and goals and all of that. And I remember the first lady, and she was hard on me. I knew I wasn't going to make it. I just knew. I mean, I was this young baby realtor, and she threw me in a room with a box. And she said, before you can take phone time or go show a house, you have to call all these people in this box and contact them. And I did for a month, and most of them were dead. And so I would get hung up on it, and I would go home and cry every night. And I thought, why am I not quitting? Well, because people like me, I don't have the sense to quit. I
Yeah.
don't even know what that word means.
Yeah.
So that was my first mentor. And
You
then,
had
of course,
calluses on your fingertips.
yeah, I'm like, oh, nobody really ever going to talk to me. But eventually she let me show one house. But I'm so grateful for her mentorship.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for being so hard on me. And my next one, of course, everybody knows was Don Harvey Realtors, who, I remember when we first moved here, every night I would go, if he said you have training between 7 and 9 at night, I was there every night. And poor little Chris would eat a sandwich or whatever he could because I was so hungry for knowledge. I was hungry. I needed to be successful. And so I appreciate that he gave me that mentorship. So the fact that I could give you any of that, a teeny bit of that,
Yeah.
is pretty fantastic.
Well, and I talked to you when I said I was getting back in, and I said, I got to set myself apart because while I was out, some really amazing market leaders rose up. Tracy Timlin, Robinson now. Suzanne Smith never went away. I mean, she just
Icon. Yeah, she's an icon.
she is
Yeah.
a lender
She
icon
is,
here.
yes.
Absolutely. Brenda Worthen, who wasn't my boss, but she welcomed me and was just so kind to me. She's retired now. Carla McIntosh was my boss, and
Love Carla. Carla and I did lots of loans. Yeah.
so precious.
Yes,
And then
yes.
Stacy, who had stayed in the industry for a million years, was our senior processor and took me under her wing and taught me the new things with all the because I had to do a whole new test. I didn't keep up with my stuff. So that day, I can take you right where I was on Wadley. It was at that airport right before you get to the Midland College and the Hillander School. And I said, you were like, what are you going to do? Set yourself apart? How are you going to make money? And I said, well, I think I'm going to do open houses. It doesn't seem like that's being done very much. And I'm going to learn how to help people fix their credit. And I'm bring them into homeownership with bad credit. We're going to fix their credit together, and I'm going to learn credit. And you said, well, that'll take a while. And, at some point you'll have to pass those off and mentor someone else to do those. And I was like, well, maybe. And then I said, I could learn how to do mobile home loans really well. And you were like, don't do that. Don't. And Janine even was like, don't make that your niche. Just know how to do it. Because West Texas has mobile homes that are
Oh, for
3,000 and
sure.
4,000 square feet with acres, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
they're hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're a necessary evil is not the right term, but they're a necessity to the market,
Well,
right?
and some people feel a lot more comfortable buying a mobile home than buying a home, and that's okay. It's all about choice.
Well, and the pricing on it versus the amount of land and freedom they get. So over those years, I cut my teeth on down payment assistance, on every special product there could be, you told me I would quit doing this. Yesterday, I was doing credit counseling for a client because I never want to forget where I came from. Now I'm a little bit more confident in saying, hey, I need a few days. You didn't get here overnight. You're not getting out overnight. But you're the first broker that let me come and speak to your team and let me work an open house when I got back in. And it just launched now I have some very dear friendships that, we'll call and just go over to each other's houses or just, what are you doing? Come meet me right now. Now there's just some really sweet friendships inside the Pine and Beckett firm, and Janine's there. And I love y'all, and I love you for
you're
being
sweet.
honest. You tell me when I'm dumb. You tell me when I'm cute.
I hope I don't use the word dumb. I don't say, Leigh-Anne, you're being dumb.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. And that's okay.
I don't remember doing
Here's
that.
the deal. I believe that, and it's not even harsh because you're so cute when you say it, but I believe that if you want to grow, you have to be prepared for criticism. And you have to know and open yourself up to that criticism on the other side, that it's coming out of protective love.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always felt that from you. So it hasn't just been business.
Well, I always even in my office or whoever I have the opportunity to help, I always expect the best of people.
Yeah.
My standards, and Chris tells me all the time, Mom, you're too hard. My standards are, if you can do better, you can do better than that.
Yeah.
Do the very best you can. My daddy always said, one time I remember I got like a C- or something, I think in PE, because I didn't dress for swimming or whatever. And I was just bawling. I was just crying because it kept me off the honor roll. And he said, well, did you do the very best that you could do? And I'm like, I think I did. I did that. He said, anytime you do the best you can do, that's all you've got. Just do the very best you can do. So in everything that I do, I remember him telling me that, I do the very best I can do, whether it's helping people or giving people a chance. Realtors that come to my office, sometimes you think, I don't know. I give them a chance. I want people to succeed, and I want to be a part of that. I love seeing your growth. To me, I've done something, a little bit of something in somebody's life, and that's very important to me. And I know that sounds corny, but it really is who I am.
It's lacking in people these days. And so when we talk about mentorship, when we talk about learning, when I hire new baby loan officers, I tell them, you're not accountable to the clock. The benefit of coming to work for a mortgage lender is it's not like a bank. You don't need to be here 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. You're going to work when you want to work because it's straight commission, but you're silly to not dive into the conversation. When I came back in the industry, I was in that office with T and Carla McIntosh all day, every day, listening to the lingo, listening to the conditions, listening to the underwriting, reading, studying, like diving in. I was offering the other loan officers, and they didn't really like that. But I had a pure heart. I was offering, hey, let me get in there and dig into some of your credit files and help you get that one to shopping again. That was not nope, nope, nope. But I wanted to learn. I was eager to learn.
Yeah.
And,
You were hungry. You were hungry.
And so I tell all my little baby loan officers and we mentor. We have several that we're still training, and we have several that we've mentored, and a couple of new ones I'm so excited to welcome to our team, but that y'all haven't even met. But get into the lingo. Get into the conversation where people are talking about it. You're going to hear it more and more and more, but you're not going to hear it sitting at home. You know what I mean?
No.
And I do. I go into your office and there's people there just sitting in the middle of the lingo. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of dovetails into this whole thing of
Paint the Town Red.
Red.
Oh my goodness.
So when you
Such a fun event.
So when you
I
say
love
to
Paint
me,
the Town Red.
I just want to do better. I just want to do my best. So this whole concept came up. I think we've pinned it to possibly 2018, for sure 2019.
Yes.
We were doing it twice a year. We started.
And it happened. It came to me, and people laugh, but I don't sleep a whole lot. And sometimes at 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning, I have my best creative thoughts. And it came to me at about 2 o'clock in the morning. And I got up the next day and I told David, I said, I had this great idea. And he goes, oh, let me guess, you didn't sleep again. I said, no, I didn't sleep again. And I've got this great idea to paint the town red. And he looked at me and goes, what? Have you lost your mind? I said, no, it's a great event. I've got it all figured out in my head. We're going to do marketing, and we're going to meet the neighbors, and we're going to have goodies, and we're going to have prizes, and we're all going to be in red, and it's going to be an event. And he was like, leave me out of it. I don't want any part of it.
And the event specifically revolves around open houses.
Yes.
Tons of them.
Yes.
All at one time.
Yes.
So Norma calls and says, hey, what do you think about this idea I have? And of course, I'm going, that buyers are at open houses, realtors, brokers, agents, whatever you want to label, have buyers. Although I had someone in the industry tell me they'll never send you their business. They'll tell you they will, and they'll lie. You'll never get realtors' business. I'm proud to say 95% of my business is referral partners. Thank you. Thank you. But I was like, I love that idea. Can I sponsor it? Can at that time,
and I didn't know I thought, I don't know what that means, but yeah, sure you can. I don't know.
Can we sponsor? Can we have loan officers on site touring the houses for open houses?
I'm not one to say no very much.
And
have you noticed
that?
Well,
no, I haven't, but maybe others have. I don't get no very often, but I'm not a no girl. I have to hear it 12 or 18 times before I believe it's a no.
Before you get it registered.
So just be prepared. If it's a no, just tell me 18 no's, no, and then
Stop.
I'll know. Okay, good. So back to the event. So that year, we have meeting after meeting. I mean, I think 2 or 3 months worth of planning.
Yes. Well, because we had never done it. We didn't have the recipe.
Right.
As I call it.
We're going to do the spring. We were going to do the fall. We were going to do 2. And we did. We executed 2. And everything red. We want to do everything red. We have red trays. We have red candies. We have red cookies. We have red
flowers.
Roses. We have chocolate-covered strawberries from edible arrangements
that
are cracking all over the floors. Yes. And the day before that very first one, Stacy and I had ordered red balloons. Stacy and I had ordered through wholesale, I think 500 red roses.
And they were
gorgeous. Were delivered in buckets, long stem, big red roses. And we're sitting there and we're looking at them and we're like, well, they have thorns. And so the week we knew about it, and the week before, Stacy was like, well, they have these tools. And so she gets on Amazon and she orders just in case they really ended up having thorns that were not doable. Because we're sponsoring the roses. We don't want to poke nobody. So we get these buckets and buckets of roses, and we have these tools, and we're sitting there shucking these rose stems and bleeding and poking, and oh my gosh.
On Sunday morning?
On Saturday night.
Oh, Saturday night.
Yeah,
okay.
Saturday night. Because we had to get those delivered over to Pine and Beckett by 10.
In the Sunday morning.
Because we didn't have balloon delivery.
Yeah.
So we had to have roses delivered. We had all the folders with the pricing sheets and the marking sheets that were co-branded. All of that. Oh, and let's not forget the houses that pulled out last minute, and we had new ones. We were making new.
And the realtors that were having a meltdown. I don't have a house to be in.
I don't know what to do.
Where am I going to go? Yes.
How many balloons do I get? How many rows? So then we're driving over to Party City and we're picking up 1,000,000 balloons. I mean, and I'm going to show y'all a picture. So here's the balloons, and we're covered and swarmed in balloons, and it's just so cool. It's starting to really come together. So that first one goes off. Everyone's exhausted. We're all in red and jeans, I think, and red tops
I
and
don't think
jeans.
we had prizes that first time.
We didn't.
We didn't have prizes,
but
no.
at the end, we were like, that was amazing. I mean, it was
And
like,
we had like, what, 35, 40 people that
it
time?
was, yeah, it was a ton of people. And I
Yeah.
think we had 27 or 28 houses.
Yeah. And that's a
So-
lot of work to
And me and
promote with
Stacy
all of this.
Split up the whole list, just me and
Yeah.
Stacy. It was us and our office. And so, flash forward, we do one in the fall. Good. Goes off with it. But we X'd out the roses this time. Still had strawberries.
Yes.
But we X'd out the roses. So then March hits, COVID, we're dead. We planned it. We had a date,
Sad.
but we're dead. The fall hit, and people were still so scared, so we get creative. Remember, we got booties. We were still wearing masks.
Yes.
We X'd the strawberries because...
Nobody can touch them.
No, well, yeah, you have all those problems too.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we're starting to get it down to a science because now we're catering really to these sellers. We're catering to their needs. Now we've dealt with the pandemic. So then the next year in 21, we go to 1. 22, we go to 1. 23, we go to 1. And in 23 was the one that just was like,
Oh, it was phenomenal.
we're good. We had started
23, we had, I don't remember how many houses, but we had over, 250 people?
Yeah.
Attendance. Huge,
we had
attendance.
team from Dallas come in to
Yes,
represent
huge.
us, our team, and then you guys had massive realtor partners in there.
Huge. We had people from Corpus wanting
Yeah.
to know what we were doing, from
Yeah.
San Antonio, realtors are wanting to know because they want to bring it to their community. So let's talk about why we're doing all this. If you're an outsider or if you're just listening to this, you're probably going, I don't even know what that means. What this is really for, couple of things, is so that the public can come and see the beautiful properties that are all dressed up and beautiful to go, with people all in red, ready to greet you, with beautiful music, food, welcoming into a home that does not belong to them, but they have been entrusted by the sellers to sell it. And we're doing the very best job for our sellers. We want the neighbors to know what we
These
do.
are listings that are with Pine and Beckett,
Right.
Chris
Only.
Beckett,
Only.
Terry Vestal, and Janine Pruitt and Associates.
Right.
Those are the only listings that
Yes,
are in there.
exclusive to Pine and
'Cause
Beckett.
we've been asked many
Yes,
times.
we have been asked.
Can we join?
Outside realtors
Yeah,
from other
yeah.
offices, which we can't. This is exclusive, our promotion, our baby. We do it once a year. And then the nice thing about it is that if sellers who don't have their property on the market, if they're going to be interviewing realtors or if they're thinking about selling their home or whatever, they get to come and see what Pine and Beckett as a brand has to offer, how we talk about the home, how we present the home. Would they like their home presented the same way? Of course, 99.9% do. So it gives them a chance to interview without feeling obligated of you sitting at their house for an hour and taking up their time. So it hits a lot of points that on an afternoon you don't typically get to do.
Right.
And then you have the lender who can advise you on, well, maybe that loan's not so good for you, or maybe this loan is, or if you don't want to get rid of your 2.3 interest rate, this is what can happen. You can always recast. I mean, it's just a wealth of information that goes on in 4 hours.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable what all is jam-packed into that. So it's very exciting.
And we have all price ranges and all neighborhoods. We
Yes.
have $150,000 homes,
Right.
all the way up to $2 million homes.
Absolutely.
And we have a after party to celebrate. We were doing it inside vacant homes, and
Right.
we learned
We get a little rowdy.
we get a little rowdy, so we
Because
need.
we're so excited.
Yeah, it's been a great
It's the high
day.
energy. We're pretty pumped
Yeah.
at that time.
And the people, I remember last year, there was a listing in Grasslands, and that was one of the ones that I popped in, and I mean, I'm telling you, at one time, there were 12 or 14 couples or individuals there at one time.
That's so
And
exciting.
the agents trying to pass out the tickets, and they're trying to hand out the address menu of where else they can go, and I'm trying to make sure everybody gets a door bag or whatever. And it's so exciting to see. And some people are there just because they want to get out of the house for the day and look
And
at
we
other
love
houses.
to visit with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And some people are seriously looking, and some
Yes.
people are in the neighborhood.
Well, I think last year we got 2 sales out of it. 2 of the homes that we had sold because of it, and we picked up 2 listings.
Yeah.
And that's phenomenal in 4 hours.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah,
It's great.
it's pretty huge. So, I mean, the whole idea is the purpose is to sell real estate, move real estate, which is what we do and what we love. But then we've also now, of course, incorporated some incredible prizes that you can sign up for, and then we announce them that same day. And you want to talk a little bit about the prizes?
Yeah, so we started a couple years ago, and they've just gotten better.
Better,
like the event,
huge. Yeah,
the event
huge.
just keeps getting better, y'all.
Yeah.
So the cool part is this year, we're doing this on April 21st. It's going to be from 1 to 5, and instead of ping-ponging all over, and this house is open for an hour, and this house is open for an hour and a half, and what's going to happen is there's going to not be so much calamity.
Be a little calmer.
We're going to have 25 to 30 homes open, and all of them are going to be open from 1 to 5.
And some will be new construction.
Yeah.
So if you're looking or have one ideas, just come out, because you'll get a little something, whether you're not buying a home or not. Come see us anyway.
Yeah.
You don't have to be in the market to buy a home. We just want to visit with you.
So we, with us changing the time and the way it works, is the benefit to that is if there's 5 or 6 homes in a certain price point, and people want to see all those options in that price point, now they have the ability to do it.
Right.
And because you might get into a home and wander around it for 30 or 40 minutes, and it's only open for an hour.
Well, and excuse me not to interrupt, but we've also had people that come to the home and they like it so much, and they don't, if it's over like in 30 more minutes, they want to call mom and dad to come see
Yes.
it. This way you can call somebody, or your husband, if you're by yourself,
Yeah.
call him and say, it's going to be open another 2 or 3 hours because it's going to be much longer open house.
Yeah.
And then you can get him to come and see it. So
Yeah.
it's just more relaxed as far as viewing the home.
You don't have to apply for a loan. You don't have to list your house. You don't have to say that you want to buy a house to come to the open houses and get this year it's going to look like a ticket. It's real cute. And you get to register for the prizes. And the prizes this year, last year were amazing. The prizes this year, Highlands Residential Mortgage is going to do
Midland Meat Market.
we're doing $100 to Midland Meat Market, but we are also going to do a grill. And we decided this last week, instead of doing just any gas grill, we're going to do that real popular, the flat one. I can't think of the name of it right now.
I don't know, but it sounds cool.
That I'll think of it in a minute.
Great
So,
for summer, though.
yeah,
Perfect.
We're
Perfect
going to do
timing.
that.
Yeah.
Great for tailgating.
Yeah.
Great for, so we're
Yeah,
going to do
love
Midland
that.
Meat and the grill. And then Pine and Beckett's going to do beauty for a month.
$300 gift certificate to Sky Nails.
Okay.
So you can be pretty. You can have your nails, your pedi done, and you
Yeah.
can just be all pretty. $300 will do you the month. So we're going to do that.
And then we've got Lone Star Abstract.
They were
who
so sweet and so
they
generous.
are
$500 evening for 4 at Cowboy Prime.
500 Cowboy Prime.
I know I've never been there, but they say it's fabulous.
I'm taking you to lunch.
Never been there.
Oh, it's amazing.
Okay.
So Janine Pruitt and Associates, they have told us their budget, but they haven't told us their gift yet.
Okay.
But we're recording next Friday and announcing the gifts, so that'll be real exciting.
And I think Chris is doing one of his
Then
Airbnbs.
Chris Beckett Real Estate Group is going to do an Airbnb.
Is it
like
Santa-
in
is
one
it-
of his locations.
Is it
Last year,
Santa Fe or which
I
one
think
is he
last
doing?
year was Santa Fe, but I'm not 100% sure just yet. No, last year was Fredericksburg.
Yeah, so this year may be Santa
So,
Fe.
Well, that's going to be really cool
And
too.
you'll love that. We go stay there all the time.
Yeah.
I love Santa Fe. It's so magical.
Anything Chris does is going to
Oh
look
no, it's
amazing.
fabulous. It all has Ralph
So,
Lauren furniture in it.
yeah.
It is divine.
That's
It
cool.
is. Yeah.
So yeah, there's going to be some really cool gifts. There's going to be individual snacks like throughout and waters throughout the day, and then
And some of the girls, you didn't know this, but some of the girls, Amanda Bright and Brandy, have challenged the other girls to do a great theme and see who, and then we're all going to pitch in and they're going to get a prize for the best presentation. So they've got
Yes.
all kinds of cool themes that
they
they're going
talked
to do in
about
their
one of them
houses.
doing Candyland or
Yes,
something.
yes. So it's going to be surprises. There will
It's-
be some surprises.
That's so exciting.
I know.
Okay. So April 21st from 1 to 5. Be looking at Pine and Beckett's website, be looking at their Facebook, look at my Facebook, Highlands Residential Mortgage in Midland. We're going to have it everywhere. Chris Beckett's going to have it, Janine Pruitt and Associates, Terry Vestal, all the agents within the group. So because we have a little bit of time right now between now and then, let's talk about the most popular thing on the streets right now, which is the NAR lawsuit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mayday, mayday. So, we've got people, and it's only natural. It's only natural to think as a seller, well, I really want to list my house right now, almost April, but if I wait until July, I could save some money. But then there's this amazing open house extravaganza. So you're a broker, so it's your job to dive in and figure out what these new requirements are going to be. I, as a lender, I just got a packet yesterday. I've been asked many times, hey, how's the lender going to cover compensation? How's the lender? My immediate answer, which I don't think this is a long-term answer, but my initial is, well, we went full disclosure in 2008. So we're doing everything we can to get people to a closing table with the money they need anyways. Down payment assistance, documenting earnest money, gift funds. So there's not a lot of wiggle room for us. Could that change? Yes, that could change. That could change in a whole lot of areas for lenders. And that's to be seen and heard. And I'm going to read up on my lender packet that I got yesterday. But I want you to talk a little bit about your understanding of it, the immediate struggle, the immediate change, and where you think there will be some tweaks and improvements that aren't so scary.
So we all knew that there was this lawsuit, the class action lawsuit, and we had a representative from the Midland Board of Realtors actually come to our office about 3 or 4 months ago. And of course, at that time, with the information that he knew, he assured us, don't worry, it's going to be in the court for years and years to come. So, of course, we went with that and we put it in the back burner and we didn't worry about it. Well, one day I opened up my computer or something and I got an email from NAR and it was said, guess what? We have settled. It's done. It's settled. No more buyer cooperation. Mm-hmm. And I called Chris and I'm like,
no more buyer compensation.
Compensation, yeah. Well, and you can't put it in MLS.
Yeah.
And so I called Chris and I said, did you just read that? And he goes, yeah, but whatever. Anyway, well, of course, after that, it all started kind of just streaming in a little bit. And I mean, they're calling it all kinds of things. They've called it the real estate earthquake. They've called it, the shakeup. It's completely like they put it up there and see where the balls fell. Well, so what's happened is, for now, it has not been signed. It's supposed to be signed like by mid-July. We're supposed to have all the changes. But some things will still be tweaked. I think what will not be changed is that part of NAR's lawsuit was that they had to agree to take the buyer's compensation of what the buyer gets paid from the seller on MLS. Cannot be anywhere on MLS. Cannot be talked about. Cannot be on MLS. That's got to go away. And the other thing that came of it is that before an agent in my office or myself or Chris or anyone that is licensed, if Leigh-Anne wants to go look at a house, before Leigh-Anne gets in that house and walks in that house, she has to have a buyer's representation with me, assuring me, or let's talk about how I'm going to get paid. It needs to be talked about. That's really the only two things that have come out that I think will definitely stay. I think the rest is going to change. They're going to have to change a lot of our MLS forms, our contracts, our buyers reps. I think it's going to have to do a lot of work between now and then to get us up to speed because it's so quick. Like, I've been selling real estate for 45 years, and we've had this model for 45 years, and now the model does not exist. So there's talk about, well, we're going to be doing secret selling. By that, I mean, if the seller still wants to do buyer compensation, they can, but it's nowhere to be found, and you have to call and find out how much that is. And there's going to be a lot more work. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a lot more negotiation. There's going to have to be a lot more knowledge. And so I'm concerned for realtors that are in the business maybe less than 10 years, because you really are still kind of getting your feet wet. You're still sort of learning. You're still learning how to navigate. And I think that the older people that have been around, that are veterans, that have been through a lot of storms. I call this a storm. You know that there are ways to survive. But for the younger group, they don't know, and they're just completely dumbfounded as to what do we do. I mean, there's been all kinds of crazy things about, well, you know, we'll work for $500 or we'll do this. Well, obviously that's not realistic. You can't do that. You cannot keep, and a professional is not going to be employed for that kind of money. So that's not going to work. So as far as having any real answers, I don't think anybody does. Anybody tells you they do, they don't.
Yeah.
But we're going to learn as we go. We will come out of it. We will figure out a way to represent our sellers like we always do, and we'll figure out a way to take care of the buyers because we always do. But I think that, unfortunately, they are predicting that NAR's probably going to lose about 30% of the realtors nationwide. I told one of the girls today, I think we are in the middle of a real estate revolution. And it's funny because in some of our sales meetings, I talk about some of the storms that I've been through in like the 70s and 80s. I went through like 2 horrible, horrible busts in Midland. And I tell those stories to them all the
Yeah.
time. And they look at me and I said, you know what, guys? In 10 years, you'll be able to talk about this will be your story.
Yeah.
This is another huge change.
Yeah.
I mean, this is earth-shattering change because if all of this stays in place, depending on how it's tweaked, it may change the way we do real estate business.
So this is kind of in the real estate side. This is comparable to what the lenders went through
Yes.
when the crisis happened in
Yes.
2008, because our compensation was changed. And I got out. I was a sissy, but I also really had a passion to be with my kids. And some of the very respectable ones that stayed that I mentioned earlier, they rode that tidal wave and they got through it, and mad respect from me because of that. But I remember, boy, we were, as mortgage brokers, we were making money on origination. We were making money on the spread of the interest rates that between par and what we could charge. So we were making big comp at that point in time. And looking back on it, because of all the things that we have to go through as lenders, it probably wasn't ethical. It's probably outside of, for some people, and I either charged origination or I charged on the points. I never made commission on both sides. I just kind of feel greasy about that. But now that's not how it works for us. So in regards to, I want to talk about the value of representation. And I want to talk about it starting from my end of the transaction first, okay? Because while you might be saving a dime, you could end up costing yourself big money in a lawsuit because you have no representation, right? So 95% of my buyers come to me from my referral partners all across the state, really. And sometimes I get contracts from a title company. And I'm like, well, where did Norma go? I would know these people if it wasn't for Norma. Or sometimes I get a contract from Sally down the street. And I'm like, did you know they were working with a realtor? And I always try to honor the original referring partner. But if there's no buyer's rep, if they just went ahead and went, that original realtor didn't get paid a penny for showing all the houses and talking to them. Now, every now and then, there's a personality difference, or they're like, I want to use my cousin, or I was referred and someone in the relationship says we're going to do something different. That doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. So when a buyer gets represented, the buyer's representative, who is a part of this NAR lawsuit and is now so negotiable, I want you to talk about the
Always
value
has
of
been
that.
negotiable. You know, they talked about that it was a standard. There's never been a standard. It has always been negotiable. I cannot tell you how many times, and I have people that I could call right now, that I have saved a deal by throwing in part of my commission because it was a bad situation for their family or whatever, and hoped that they would send me more business, and they did. You know, real estate, on another subject, I'm very passionate about real estate. Everything I have is because of real estate. I've loved it. It has loved me back. So I'm there for it all the time. But I believe that trust, respect, those really big, heavy words are going to come into play right now, because I think this is the time that people will have to trust and respect you and understand that you are the higher learning, that they're going to put their life, their
Yeah.
savings in your hands.
Yeah.
So this is the time that I've always said, guys, it's not about the money. Our mantra in my office is, it's not about the money. Yes, we have to have money to pay our bills. Of course we do. But take care of your clients. Take care of the business. Take care of Leigh-Anne. The money will follow you.
Yeah.
It always does. It always has. And that's just how I do my business. So as far as the value to buyers, I saw something this morning which said that there's an average that for sale by owners, by not using a realtor, lose $95,000 on an average
In a sale?
in a sale. Isn't that crazy? Because they
Wow.
either they don't negotiate properly or don't price their home properly, or buyers simply think, well, it's a better deal because there isn't a realtor involved. But yeah, I thought that was a huge number.
That's
But
a
I read
big
that this
number.
morning. I know. I
Wow.
know. Is that crazy?
I tell my people a lot, hey, you're ready to go. You're ready to shop. And they're so excited, you know. And by the way, if your agent's busy, the referral partner, or if you can't get in there fast enough, do not call the sign. I don't care what you do. Don't call the sign. Some people don't like that I say that because I might be cutting them out. But my personal opinion is very black and white. That listing agent that's on the sign, their first responsibility is to that seller. And me as a buyer, or my buyer, the obligation on that sign is to that seller. And this buyer, now they are aware of this being negotiable, has their own representation, and that agent or broker is loyal to them. And I just think it's so important for people to understand the value in having your own individual representations.
Well, and there's a lot of lawsuits because of dual agency representation, and unfortunately, the way that some of this is structured, a lot of people. Let's just say that I'm working with Leigh-Anne, and Leigh-Anne says, "No, I don't want to pay you, but very minimum." Or you have to have a dollar amount on the new buyer's rep. You can't have a zero, by the way, from what I've read.
And it can't say commission, has to say compensation.
Correct. Yeah, forget the commission
Yeah.
word. Just get it out of your head.
Yeah.
So then Leigh-Anne says, well, okay, Norma, it's been fun, but I'm going to call the listing agent and she's going to represent me. Well, if she's got a 3%, she's got no skin in the game to represent you because she doesn't have a 1% or anything, which means now she's going to be in dual representation for 3%, high risk of a lawsuit.
Yeah.
And so really that's not working either. So there really aren't a lot of answers as to how this formula is going to work out. We're all working through it in our head, even myself who's been in the business so long. Chris and I have collaborated. There's still a lot of lessons. I probably have listened, I don't know, to 20 podcasts. I listened to a lawyer this morning. But even the lawyer that I listened to this morning, they don't have all the answers. They don't know. They're kind of leaving for us to navigate and kind of work some of this out. I feel like knowledge is going to be very important. Again, I'm going to repeat that. And I feel like advising people and taking time to talk to them and making them say, you know what, Mr. Seller, if you do not have any buyer compensation for the buyer, that's great. You can save 3% or whatever. However, are your days on marketing going to go up? Do you have the time to wait 4 or 5 more months? Do you worry about if you don't do compensation in 4 or 5 months and we have to reduce the price more, is that going to cost you more than coming in? There are so many scenarios that you're going to have to talk it through to be sure they understand how they want to do it.
Yeah.
So it's going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of explaining and a lot of knowledge, experience. So
Education.
all of that, education, it is all going to be a whole different ballgame. We're going to wake up and it's a different world.
So let me ask you 2 questions, and then I want you to read what you brought.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did bring a little something.
So when you say dual representation can lead to lawsuits, educate on what kind of lawsuit that means. Because the passerby, the first-time seller, the first-time home buyer, I mean, what kind of lawsuit, for example, could come out of a dual representation?
Well, that you took advantage of me, that you didn't disclose that I was willing to pay less, and you told them that you didn't tell them disclosure. You have to be completely transparent, of course, in real estate. And so when you're in dual agency, you are there just to facilitate. You really can't advise the seller, hey, so if you do
Oh.
negotiation on this, you really can't advise Leigh-Anne to do, because you are in the middle.
You're the paper drawer.
You're literally in the middle. No one has. Now, you can still do assignments if somebody gets upset, and you can assign different brokers to it again. But are you going to do all of that for 3%?
So it's like a mediation. It's a mediator.
Pretty much.
Between.
So you're going to say, I was cheated. I didn't know I wasn't going to get any representation. I'm upset. I wouldn't have done this. And Norma didn't feel free to tell me. Even though I told you I'm in dual and all that, you didn't feel free. Or the seller's going to say, I wouldn't have accepted that, but she wanted to make the sale and she wanted to help Leigh-Anne, so now she didn't help me. So it's a tug of war.
Yeah.
And you have to really be able to juggle that. And you really have to be able to walk away and truly, in your heart, not care as a realtor and a person that's in business to try to make a living, and not care if that's going to close or not. The money in a dual representation really has to go away.
Well,
For the agent.
And I can imagine the high emotion, like the drama and the emotion. And
Right.
I mean, on my side as a lender, every now and then weird things happen. I mean, I have one that we were chasing verifications from the United Kingdom. I mean, they're 8 hours ahead of us, and so delays can be created. And so if there's high emotion and high drama, that the agent that chooses to go into this dual role is going to have to really check their attitude and check their
Be very
drama
careful
at
and
the
very
door.
cautious. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so if I'm representing you and you're the seller and it's a dual situation, and you go, Norma, you can tell them that. Okay, now you gave me permission, and now I can disclose that.
Yeah.
But without that permission, I cannot.
That's crazy.
I cannot. That's just that's confidential, and this side is confidential. You're literally in the middle.
So let's go to the seller's side.
Okay.
We'll kind of wrap on NAR
Okay.
on the seller side. So I recently was a seller with you, and you gave me the advice of staging my home. And that was I had a couple bids, and you gave me some other advice on some things to do, and we
Paint those doors.
Yeah,
Remember
we
the
painted
barn doors?
the barn doors. Yep, that's exactly right. And then we talked about compensation. I mean, you were very gracious and generous to me as a seller, and we had a certain number to work within, and I'm grateful that it all worked out. There was much more that took place during my transaction with you as my listing agent. That when people see this big number of 3% of $1 million, let's just make it
Make
big.
a big one,
Let's do a
30,000.
big one. You got $30,000, and
No,
you
3%. $1 million. Yeah, 30,000. Yeah.
So you got $30,000,
Yeah.
and
Whoop, whoop.
you negotiated. I went under contract. My house wasn't $1 million, but we're gonna pretend like it was.
It sounds good.
You got $30,000 for that, and we went under contract. And after 26 days, the buyer pulled out because they had their own fears and they were coming from somewhere else. So we went under contract over here, and we closed this over here, and you got $30,000 for negotiating 2 contracts, and we talked 3 times during
And you
the
did
whole thing.
nothing. Yeah, and what you get is, and you did nothing.
So let's talk about that, because what I really saw, and I pay attention to these things because I'm in the industry.
Right.
But the goal is to educate outside of the industry so people have that trust, they have the rapport, so that the disclosures are understood. You have photography, you pay somebody,
Of course.
and those photos are edited sometimes. I know you have called pool people out to get a pool glistening and sparkling, and paid that because the seller's tight. There's other things. There's been air conditioning guys had to come out to my house, and you didn't pay for that, but
But if you have
helped
an assistant,
me.
you have to give the assistant a bonus.
You helped me coordinate it. You have an assistant. You have a listing coordinator. You have a transaction coordinator. They get paid a bonus on the file. We had to call out a foundation guy, and you help me coordinate. So it's much more than just taking me and unlocking the doors and showing me that next house I'm
Well, yeah,
going to buy.
sometimes these files are this thick with
Right.
paperwork because everything has to be followed and documented and sent. There are so many details to everything. And I think that's the sad part of it because a buyer's going to say, oh, I don't even need you. I'll go do it by myself. The complexities, once you walk into it, you have no idea. Timelines, negotiation. What happens if it didn't appraise? Can you send comps? Who's going to help you with that? It's a mess. I
Yeah.
mean, it is just so difficult. For veterans, it is difficult.
And on mine, we were on the phone one night until 9 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
With
That's
our
not
with our
unusual.
buyer,
Yeah.
and there was a little hurdle that I needed to get by because all sellers are proud of their homes.
Of course.
All sellers think they're
It's
going to
an
be in a
emotional tie.
multi-offer,
Yeah.
full price. It's going to be so amazing, and it's going to. And it doesn't happen. I mean, it's kind of like planning your wedding and going to the altar, and the honeymoon lasts for the next 90 years, right? So I remember that night, I was so emotional. And sellers are emotional, buyers are emotional. The buyers were really emotional. You're doing everything you can to keep the deal together. And I went to bed, and I was just like, and you offered.
I did offer part of my
to
compensation.
pay $2,500 of a title policy.
Yeah.
Out of your compensation.
That's right.
And you're not the only realtor that does
Yeah,
this,
it's
broker.
not unusual.
It's not unusual.
No.
And I went to bed that night, I said, I'll call you tomorrow. And thought about all you had done. And I thought about, I work in this industry, so I consider myself somewhat of a savvy seller because I know what I'm talking about. It doesn't stop the emotion.
No.
So if I take your hourly rate and I put a dollar amount on it, it's very belittling for me after you've done pictures, after you've helped me coordinate staging, which was beautiful, and I ended up buying some of that stuff. After you coordinate it going on the market and all the marketing stuff on the MLS and on, I woke up the next morning going, I can't take a penny out of this woman's pocket who did what I asked her to do. I can make $2,000 in my sleep. I just have to go do it. I'm not taking a dime. I'm not ever one that's willing to tell someone what they're worth anyways. I won't do that. You know what you're worth, and I'm going to hire you for your worth. And so that next morning I called you and I said, there's no way. I just will not let you do it. Sign the amendment. Let's get to the closing table. Let's close the store and let's go to the next one.
And we did.
And so those are the things that I just really want people to know. There's that $30,000 that gets dwindled away very quickly if you want to break it down to hourly rate. If you want to break it down to emotional rate, there's some really emotional stamina required. But then you have inspections, you have photos, you have things that sometimes sellers can't afford to do right there that you guys really do ante up and help us as sellers. And so it's important for people to hear that conversation, not just to sell yourself.
I think that's a tragedy. I think that, because of the reality shows and they show everybody and, fancy, lovely cars and they go show beautiful homes and all that, they make it look so easy. They never even show paperwork.
We have the best sunsets. Why aren't we selling sunsets?
I know. I mean, but they don't even show any paperwork. They never show any it's just so easy breezy. And I wish that was reality and really true, but that's not. That is not the reality. I cannot tell you how many times if I'm going somewhere, I'll pull over in a parking lot and I could be in that parking lot talking to somebody or talking them off the wall or getting them all upset because they didn't realize that had happened and how could that happen for a good 45 minutes. And I think they think I'm stalking somebody because I can't go and I can't drive and I have an emergency.
You have to focus.
I have to focus and I'm there for them. Mm-hmm. That is my job. Now, if you cannot, as a realtor, be there for them, then you're in the wrong field.
Yeah.
That's all I can tell you because all we have to give is service. So you have to give the best service, all of yourself. And if you can't do that, you might want to move on.
Yeah.
I tell it like it is. You know me.
Study. Oh, I know.
I know.
Study
there
that lawsuit and know if this is going to be your career. And
that's right.
If you're going to stay in this line of work, get around your
buddies.
Give it your all.
Give it your all.
And listen and get a mentor. And, I'm not ever going to go to work there or go to work there or go to, but make sure that who you're working with can support you on your real estate side. I have the most amazing team on Highlands, and when I need all hands on deck, man, I'm telling you, that leadership team, they are all hands on deck, and I had that prior at Supreme, and it makes a difference. Who you're in business with makes a difference.
Huge.
And you used to be in business with someone that you're going to read.
Yes. I want to
so
finish with
let's talk
this, if
about
that's
this.
okay. Can I finish?
Yeah,
You want me to read it?
absolutely.
Okay. So I have permission. I'm not going to disclose who wrote this, but I have permission to read this. And she wrote, this is a fellow realtor. She wrote, I don't feel like people understand what goes into a real estate transaction from the realtor side standpoint. We bring all of ourselves to a deal every time. We are the last to be paid in a transaction, and many times our pay is sacrificed to keep a deal together for all parties. I don't know very many people who would get up in the morning and go to their jobs knowing that they may have to give up their pay for that day that's supposed to be for their families. We take verbal abuse from clients sometimes and others involved in the transaction, and we are expected to know everything about everything. The realtors who are quality know these things are just a part of our job on a daily basis, and we still work through our day with integrity and perseverance, and the ones who can't do this job and give of themselves will move on. So before you judge, remember there is a real person with a real family and a real expenses as and a business to run, most times as a single small business owner. We do it because we love it. Not ever have I thought of any of my colleagues as self-serving.
Yeah, it's so true.
And that is so true. And then it says, to give real service, you must add something which cannot be bought or measured with money, and that is sincerity and integrity. And I think more than ever with the new NAR and the buzz and all that, those things are in the forefront more than ever.
And you and I have had so many conversations about integrity, character, honor. Terry and Chris and I talked a lot about it
Really?
a couple episodes that we did, and so I'm always okay with bringing that back to the forefront. And although this NAR thing has a lot of scuffle in it right now and a lot of mess and a lot of dirt,
We'll all stick together
There-
and figure it out.
find the integrity, find
That's
the
right.
character.
That's right.
And in the meantime, come to Paint the Town Red
Oh, yeah.
on April
So
21st.
much fun. We can't wait to see
So-
y'all. Look for all the red. We'll have red balloons, red people dressed in red. Just look for the red and you'll find us.
And this is Norma Pine. Thank you. I know that
So happy to be here.
I know that it took a lot to bust you out of your shell on this, but
I know. I
thank
don't
you.
do these.
Thank you. It means a lot to me because it means that
You're
you
a
did it
sweetheart.
for me.
You're a
So,
sweetheart.
Paint the Town Red, April 21st, 1 to 5. Look for the red balloons.